Have you ever noticed how, when a problem enters our life, it doesn't knock politely? It breaks the door and sits on our chest. Suddenly, the mind starts racing faster than a local train during peak hours. Sleep disappears, peace takes a holiday, and our happiness says, "I'll come back later." At that moment, the problem feels permanent, as if it has taken a lifetime lease in our heart. But let me ask you something very simple. Have you ever had a problem in the past that did not change with time? Think about it. The exam you were terrified of, the financial stress that kept you awake, the relationship issue that made you cry at night. Where are those problems today? They either ended, reduced, or transformed you into a stronger person. The truth is, problems feel permanent only because we are standing too close to them. Life is like weather. Some days are sunny, some days are rainy, and some days feel like a storm. But no weather comes with a permanent booking. Imagine if the weather said, "Today it will rain forever." We would never step out again. In the same way, when life rains problems, we assume it will rain forever, and we stop living fully. One time, a man came to me and said, "My life is completely finished." I smiled and asked, "Completely?" He said, "Yes, nothing good can happen now." I asked him, "Are you still breathing?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Then your life is not finished. Your chapter is changing." Many times we confuse a difficult chapter with the end of the book. You see, problems are not punishments, they are reminders. They remind us that life is dynamic, not static. They remind us that we are stronger than we think. And most importantly, they remind us that nothing, absolutely nothing, stays the same forever. When we go through pain, our mind zooms into the moment and forgets the journey. But wisdom comes when we zoom out and see the bigger picture. Just like night has no choice but to give way to morning, every problem has no choice but to bow down to time. So before we panic, before we complain, before we lose hope, pause and tell yourself gently but firmly, "This is temporary. I am temporary in this problem, but this problem is also temporary in my life." And that one thought can become the beginning of peace. When we hear the statement, "Problems don't stay forever," it sounds comforting, almost poetic. But when we are actually going through a difficult phase, these words can feel very far from reality. In pain, theory feels easy and life feels hard. At that moment, our heart doesn't want philosophy. It wants relief, and that is completely natural. We are human before we are wise. In today's world, we are surrounded by speed, fast internet, fast food, fast results. Naturally, we also want fast solutions. When a problem comes, we want it to disappear immediately. If it doesn't, frustration grows. Slowly, frustration turns into anxiety, anxiety turns into fear, and fear turns into hopelessness. We start believing that something is wrong with our life, with our destiny, or even with us. But life was never designed to be free from problems. It was designed to help us grow through them. If you observe carefully, you will notice that every phase of life comes with its own challenges. Childhood has its struggles, youth has its confusion, adulthood has its responsibilities, and old age has its own lessons. The problems change, but the presence of problems remains. The issue is not that problems exist. The issue is how we see them. Many times, we think strong people have no problems. That is not true. Strong people have the same problems as everyone else. They just have a different relationship with them. They don't panic easily. They don't conclude too quickly. They don't allow a temporary situation to define their permanent identity. Strength is not about avoiding problems. It is about understanding their temporary nature. One of the biggest mistakes we make is assuming that our current situation is the final version of our life. We look at today and draw conclusions about tomorrow, but life doesn't work like that. Life is a process, not a fixed picture. What you are experiencing right now is just a frame, not the full movie. Think about a traveler walking through a tunnel, while inside all he can see is darkness. If he forgets that tunnels are designed to be passed through, he may sit down and give up. But if he keeps walking, even slowly, light eventually appears. The tunnel was never meant to be a home, it was meant to be a passage. In the same way, difficult phases are not destinations, they are transitions. Another reason problems feel permanent is because we compare our inner struggles with other people's outer smiles. We scroll through social media and see happiness everywhere. Everyone seems successful, peaceful, and sorted. Meanwhile, we are dealing with stress, confusion, and pain. This comparison creates the illusion that we are the only ones suffering. But the truth is, everyone is fighting a battle that is invisible to the world. Some people are just better at hiding it. Life doesn't test us to see how much we can suffer. It tests us to see how much we can trust. Trust in time, trust in growth, trust that what is unclear today will make sense tomorrow. Just like a child doesn't understand why a bitter medicine is necessary, we don't always understand why certain experiences are required for our growth. It is also important to understand that problems are not signs of failure. They are signs of movement. When you are moving forward, you face resistance. When you are stagnant, life feels comfortable but empty. Progress and problems often walk together. The absence of problems does not mean the presence of success. Sometimes it simply means the absence of growth. In this speech, we are not trying to deny pain or pretend that everything is fine. That would be unrealistic and insensitive. Pain is real, emotions are real, struggles are real, but what we are trying to understand is this: pain is temporary and growth is permanent, if we allow it to be. As we move forward in this talk, we will explore why problems feel so heavy, how our mind magnifies them, and what practical shifts we can make to handle them with calm, clarity, and courage, not by escaping life, but by embracing it with wisdom. So if you are going through a tough phase right now, don't feel broken. You are not weak, unlucky, or behind in life. You are simply in a chapter that is teaching you something important. And once the lesson is learned, the chapter will change. Let us begin this journey with one gentle reminder in our heart. This moment is not the end. It is part of the process. The real problem in our life is not the problem itself. The real problem is how we think about the problem. Two people can face the same situation, yet one becomes calmer and wiser, while the other becomes anxious and hopeless. The difference is not in the situation, but in the perception. Our mind, when left unchecked, has the power to turn a small challenge into a lifelong burden. One of the biggest problems we face is the habit of assuming permanence in temporary situations. When something goes wrong, the mind immediately jumps to extreme conclusions. A single failure becomes "I am a failure." A temporary rejection becomes "I will always be rejected." A difficult phase becomes "my whole life is ruined." This is not logic. This is emotional exaggeration. The mind starts predicting a future it has no authority to decide. Another major issue is overthinking. Problems demand solutions, but the mind chooses worry instead. Overthinking does not solve problems, it only drains energy. We replay the same situation again and again, hoping that thinking more will change the outcome. In reality, it only increases stress. It's like sitting in a rocking chair. It gives the feeling of movement but takes you nowhere. We also suffer because we want control over everything. We want people to behave according to our expectations, situations to unfold according to our plans, and life to follow our timetable. When life doesn't cooperate, frustration begins. but life was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be navigated. The more we try to control what is beyond us, the more helpless we feel. Another problem is our emotional attachment to outcomes. We tie our self-worth to results. If things go well, we feel confident. If things go wrong, we feel broken. This emotional dependence makes problems feel personal. We don't see a situation as something happening to us. We see it as something happening because of us. Slowly, this creates guilt, shame, and self-doubt. Comparison also adds fuel to our suffering. We look at others and feel that life is unfair to us. Why is everyone else moving ahead while I am stuck? We ask. But comparison is deeply flawed because we are comparing our struggles with someone else's highlights. We don't see their sleepless nights, their fears, or their failures. Yet we judge our entire journey based on someone else's best moments. Another silent problem is impatience. We want instant relief, instant success, instant clarity. But life works on a different clock. Growth takes time, healing takes time, understanding takes time. When results don't appear quickly, we lose hope. We forget that some of the most meaningful changes happen slowly, quietly, and invisibly. We also underestimate our resilience. We think, I can't handle this, but the truth is, we already have. Every problem you are facing today is proof that you have survived your past. Yet when a new challenge comes, we forget our own strength. The mind remembers pain but forgets survival. Another serious issue is that we suppress emotions instead of processing them. We pretend to be strong while feeling broken inside. Unexpressed emotions don't disappear, they accumulate. Over time, this emotional baggage makes every new problem feel heavier than it actually is. Strength is not about ignoring pain. It is about acknowledging it without letting it control us. The biggest problem of all is losing perspective. When we are in pain, the world shrinks to that pain. We forget that life is bigger than this moment. We forget that seasons change. We forget that what feels unbearable today may feel insignificant tomorrow. Without perspective, a temporary problem feels like a permanent prison. In essence, the problem is not that life gives us challenges. The problem is that we forget the temporary nature of those challenges. We forget that time moves forward, that lessons are being learned, and that growth is happening, even in discomfort. Once we clearly see what the real problem is, half the burden is lifted, because awareness brings clarity, and clarity brings calm. And only when we understand the problem deeply can we move towards a meaningful solution. Once we understand that the real problem is not the situation but our perception of it, the solution naturally begins from within. Solutions in life are rarely about changing everything outside. They are about changing something inside. When the inner lens changes, the outer world looks different, even if it remains the same. The first and most important solution is acceptance. Acceptance does not mean surrendering or giving up. It simply means acknowledging reality as it is without resistance. When we fight reality, we lose energy. When we accept it, we gain clarity. Saying to yourself, "This is what is happening right now," instantly reduces mental noise. Only after acceptance can meaningful action begin. The second solution is creating emotional distance from the problem. We must stop identifying ourselves with our difficulties. You are not your failure. You are not your financial stress. You are not your heartbreak. These are experiences you are going through, not definitions of who you are. When you mentally say, "I am experiencing a problem," instead of "I am the problem," your self-respect remains intact. Another powerful solution is trusting the process of time. Time has a quiet way of resolving what force cannot. Many situations that felt impossible in the past became manageable with time, not because the situation magically changed, but because you grew. Time gives perspective, and perspective reduces pain. Remind yourself regularly, I don't need all the answers today. And next comes controlling what is in your control and releasing what is not. A lot of our suffering comes from trying to control people, outcomes, and situations beyond our reach. Peace begins when we focus only on our effort, attitude, and response. You may not control the storm, but you can control how you sail through it. Another solution is reducing overthinking through disciplined awareness. The mind loves to revisit problems unnecessarily. Train yourself to pause and ask, is this thought helping me or harming me? If it is harming you, gently redirect your attention. This is not suppression, it is self-respect. Over time, the mind learns that peace is more valuable than unnecessary analysis. Gratitude is also a powerful healer. When life feels heavy, gratitude feels difficult, but that is when it is most needed. Gratitude does not deny problems, it balances them. Even in the darkest phase, something is still working in your favor. Your breath, your ability to think, someone who cares. Gratitude shifts focus from what is missing to what is present. Faith plays a crucial role as well, not blind faith, but grounded faith. Faith that life is not random. Faith that lessons have meaning. Faith that growth is happening even when progress is invisible. When logic ends, faith begins, not as an escape, but as support. Another solution is seeking the right company. Pain grows in isolation. When we share our struggles with the right people, the burden becomes lighter. Not everyone deserves access to your vulnerabilities, but someone does. A wise friend, a mentor, or a well-wisher can offer perspective that we cannot see ourselves. We must also practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself during difficult times. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. Harsh self-talk only deepens wounds. Compassion heals faster than criticism. Finally, remember this essential truth. Problems are temporary, but the strength you build is permanent. When this understanding becomes part of your thinking, fear loses its grip. You stop rushing life and start trusting it. Solutions don't remove problems instantly. They change how you walk through them. And once your walk changes, the journey itself becomes lighter. Friends, now that we have explored the nature of problems, understood why they feel permanent, and discussed practical ways to approach them, it's time to take the next step, action. Understanding and learning are important, but real transformation happens only when knowledge moves into behavior. Life will not change because you know something. It changes when you live it. The first action I invite you to take is pause and reflect. When a problem arises, don't react immediately. Stop for a moment, take a deep breath, observe your thoughts and emotions, ask yourself, am I overreacting? Am I identifying too closely with this problem? Is this fear or fact? Reflection allows the mind to calm down and prevents impulsive reactions that often make situations worse. A small pause can create a huge difference. The second action is reframe your perspective. Start telling yourself, this problem is temporary. I am bigger than this problem. I will grow through it. Words have energy. When spoken repeatedly, they shape our thinking. Our inner dialogue can either strengthen us or weaken us. Choose words that build resilience rather than fear. Choose hope rather than despair. Next, I urge you to focus on what you can control. There are things in life that we can influence and things we cannot. Write them down. Separate your energy into two columns, control and do not control. Then, consciously dedicate your energy to actions that matter. Your effort, your attitude, your choices. Stop wasting time worrying about things that you cannot change. Peace begins where control ends. Another action is to practice gratitude daily, even in small ways. Each morning, list 3 things you are grateful for. Even if you are going through a tough phase, something is still working in your favor. Your health, your loved ones, your ability to learn, your breath, your heartbeat. Gratitude shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance, from complaint to appreciation. A grateful heart navigates problems with calmness and clarity. I also want you to cultivate patience. Life's most profound changes often happen slowly. Healing takes time, understanding takes time, growth takes time. So instead of rushing to fix everything immediately, learn to trust the process. Like a seed that slowly sprouts into a tree, every problem is nurturing a new part of your life. Patience is not passive, it is active trust in time and effort. Another critical action is seek support when needed. Problems become lighter when shared with the right people. Talk to a friend, mentor, or loved one. Don't isolate yourself. Sharing does not make you weak. It strengthens your perspective and shares the load. Sometimes just knowing that someone else believes in your resilience gives you the courage to keep moving forward. I encourage you to practice self-compassion. Stop blaming yourself for things beyond your control. Stop criticizing your reactions. Speak to yourself with kindness. Understand that being human means being imperfect. Every mistake, every emotional reaction, every setback is an opportunity to learn and grow. Treat yourself with the same love and patience that you would offer someone you care for deeply. Another actionable step is to take small, consistent steps toward solutions. A big problem can feel overwhelming when seen as a whole. Break it into smaller, manageable parts. Take one step today, another tomorrow, and keep moving forward. Small actions repeated consistently create momentum. Momentum brings confidence. Confidence brings calm. Calm brings clarity. Lastly, and most importantly, I urge you to believe in your resilience. Every difficulty you face is proof that you have survived challenges before. You are stronger than you realize. When you keep reminding yourself of your inner strength, problems stop defining you. They become temporary guests in the story of your life rather than permanent owners of your peace. Friends, the call to action is not a one-time effort. It is a lifestyle choice. It is a choice to pause before reacting, to see the temporary nature of difficulties, to focus on growth rather than fear, to nurture patience, gratitude, and self-compassion, and to trust in your own resilience. Life will continue to present challenges, but how you respond to them is entirely up to you. So, starting today, make a conscious commitment. I will face my problems with calmness. I will act with clarity. I will focus on what I can control. I will nurture gratitude. I will practice patience, and I will trust my strength. When you live by these principles, even the heaviest storms feel lighter, and even the longest tunnels lead to light. As we come to the closing of this talk, let us pause for a moment and reflect on the journey we have taken together. We started by acknowledging a truth that many of us struggle to accept. Problems are an inevitable part of life. Then we explored why they feel so permanent, why they weigh so heavily on our minds, and why we often allow them to define our self-worth. We discussed the real problem, not the external situation, but the way we perceive and react to it. And finally, we walked through practical solutions and actionable steps that can transform our experience of life's challenges. Now, the time has come to tie all of these threads together into a simple, living principle. Problems are temporary, but your strength is permanent. This is not just a comforting phrase, it is a life philosophy. Every difficulty, every pain, every obstacle is a temporary teacher in your life. It does not define your identity, it defines your growth. The storms of today are shaping the calm of tomorrow. The hardships you face are molding the courage, patience, and resilience you will carry forward. Let me remind you of a simple fact: nothing in life is static. The seasons change, the sun rises and sets, rivers flow, and so does time. Your situation, no matter how overwhelming it feels right now, is part of this dynamic flow. Like clouds in the sky, problems move. Some pass quickly, some linger a little longer, but none stay forever. The moment we internalize this truth, we stop panicking, we stop resisting, and we start moving with life rather than against it. I want to emphasize the power of perspective once more. Problems shrink when viewed from a broader lens. Right now, you may be too close to the challenge to see the bigger picture. But when you step back, when you take a deep breath and remind yourself that this moment is temporary, clarity emerges. The mind that once felt trapped in fear now discovers options, solutions, and opportunities. The heart that once felt heavy now begins to lighten. Perspective transforms suffering into learning, fear into courage, and confusion into clarity. Another critical lesson is the importance of resilience. Life does not promise that problems will vanish, but it does promise that we are equipped to handle them. Strength is not about avoiding challenges. It is about meeting them with patience, wisdom, and grace. Strength is cultivated in the moments when you choose calm over panic, action over procrastination, faith over despair, and hope over resignation. Every problem you face is an opportunity to strengthen that inner muscle, to expand your emotional and mental capacity, and to grow into a more grounded, centered, and wise human being. Equally important is the practice of gratitude and self-compassion. Even in the darkest moments, there is something to be thankful for. Your breath, your heartbeat, your ability to think, someone who loves you, even a small moment of beauty in your day. These are anchors of light that keep you steady when the storm rages. And as you nurture gratitude, treat yourself with compassion, speak kindly to yourself, forgive yourself for mistakes, allow yourself to feel emotions fully without letting them define you. Compassion is the soft power that carries you through pain with dignity and peace. I also want to leave you with the reminder that you are never alone in your struggles. Everyone faces challenges, even if it is invisible from the outside. Reaching out to a trusted friend, mentor, or loved one does not make you weak. It strengthens your perspective and shares the load. Sometimes just knowing that someone else believes in your resilience gives you the courage to keep moving forward. Friends, life is not about waiting for problems to disappear. It is about learning to walk through them gracefully, growing stronger with each step, and transforming every challenge into a stepping stone. It is about understanding that the weight you carry today is shaping the freedom, wisdom, and confidence of tomorrow. Your problems are temporary visitors. Your growth is permanent. Your struggles are temporary teachers. Your resilience is eternal. As you leave here today, carry this message in your heart. I am bigger than my problems. I am stronger than my fears. I am capable of growth, patience, and transformation. This moment is temporary, but my strength and wisdom are permanent. Repeat it daily. Let it shape your mindset, guide your actions, and nurture your peace. In conclusion, remember this: life will continue to challenge you, storms will continue to come, and difficulties will continue to arise. But every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Every storm is a chance to build resilience, and every problem is a lesson in disguise. The measure of life is not the absence of problems, but how we respond to them. Stand tall, stay calm, act with clarity, and walk forward with courage. Problems don't stay forever. but your wisdom, strength, and peace can. So, my friends, live with courage, think with clarity, and act with compassion. Embrace your challenges as teachers, not enemies. Trust the process of life, trust your inner strength, and trust the passage of time. And remember, no matter how dark the night feels, the dawn is inevitable. Every problem will pass, but what you learn, who you become, and the peace you cultivate, these stay with you forever.